if you thought that driving the Humvees on the highway was sketchy, he bought, that I've showed you a few times on Marketplace, the Unimog that has the backhoe on it. It's got the backhoe on the back and the front. They bought one of those and tried to drive it with the buckets on the highway.
How was that?
It was terrible. It was like they didn't work worth a crap. Like you could barely dig a hole with this thing. So,
if you would like exclusive episodes of the Sent and Bent podcast, they're available in the Premium Members Club, and also they are ad-free. Without any further ado, please enjoy our conversation with Dave Chappelle. Welcome to the Sent and Bent podcast.
Oh, nice. Today, I didn't know the name.
Yeah. You like it?
I love it.
All right.
Perfect.
My wife doesn't like it. She says it doesn't make any sense.
It makes all the sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, you guys...
You send it, and then you bend it.
Bends. Yeah. Or sometimes you bend things, and then you get to go send them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the name of the podcast. We have Dave Chappelle on today, which is pretty awesome because you're our first, off-road guest.
Really?
We had Clinton from Dirt Garage.
Yep. I know Clinton.
But besides that, we've had not a lot of guests on the show, so it's really an honor to have you here in the garage.
All right. Thanks for having me. This is only my second time up here, and it's really cool. The new building is amazing.
It's so much better.
And a lot was done last time you were here, but it's kind of a completely different vibe in here now since we've had a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
It's like a working shop now. You're starting to figure out where things go and where projects are going to live and how to be efficient, I'm sure.
Yep.
That's the one thing. There's a spot in my garage that if something goes there, there's not a shot in hell that it's going to get work done. And that's kind of how every shop goes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that corner over there is that's the corner where stuff that I'm not working on goes.
Yeah.
That's Will's corner.
Yeah, perfect. That dude hustles, though.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. He really does. Yeah, it's a bummer he can't be here today. He had a doctor tell him 5 years ago that he had to get his wisdom teeth pulled.
Oh, geez.
And he didn't do it.
Pulling my wisdom teeth was the worst pain I've ever been in my life.
Really?
Really?
Absolutely. Oh my God. Thanks for bringing this up.
Yeah.
I had, I think when I was 20 years old, I got a cavity in the back. I was eating something and I got a chip. I went into the dentist and they were like, oh yeah, your wisdom tooth is rotten. We got to pull them out immediately. And they were, I don't know what they call it, but it's when the roots grow like this and grow over each other. So when they pulled them, they had to break the bone in the jaw.
Really?
And they pulled the one out right there, and without sedating me, it was just local Novocaine. And holy crap, it was the worst pain. You'd feel your jaw twisting and this and that. And they pulled one out and they were like, do you want to come back and do the other three in a month? And I was like, you better pull them right now. I'm never coming back. So pulled all four of them in one day. It was terrifying. They kept my teeth because they wanted to show other people how bad they were. And it was some sort of medical, I don't know.
Anomaly.
Yeah. So
I just had mine out a couple weeks ago and it was totally fine. But obviously I'm 33, so they weren't messed up. They were just there. And
Oh my gosh.
It was it was not nearly as bad as I expected based on stories like yours.
Hopefully Will survives.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, he'll be good, but hopefully they just knock him out, get him out, and they can come back and have fun with us again.
I think that's standard issue now is they knock you out. They don't try to torture you like they did to me. That was back in the 1800s. I'm a little older than you.
1800s.
You never want your stuff used as a medical example.
No.
That's for sure.
No.
People have started referring to, the decades that we were born and grew up in as the 1900s, which is concerning.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, people are like, oh, back in the 1900s.
Dude, we are set to be old really soon. Some of us are already there.
You look good. You're working hard. You're making good videos. What more could you ask for?
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. So what do you guys usually talk about if it's not off-road stuff? I don't see a whole lot of street cars in here and drag racers and
well,
space
to be honest,
shuttles.
we haven't had that many guests in general.
Oh, okay.
Because we're way out in the middle of nowhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
really I live in the middle of nowhere, and I had to go 2 hours to get to you.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, but how close are you to the airport?
Much closer.
So you're pretty much in thriving metropolis compared to
that is true.
No, we normally talk about just rowdy stories because even amongst ourselves, there's still so much we don't know about each other. So we're like, one time we were doing this stupid thing and this happened. That's really what the podcast is about.
All right, we got the dental problems out of the way.
We got the dental problems out of the way.
And then we've also had guests like Andrew, who made the Arc Droid, and more engineering people, and then we talk about that kind of stuff. But just whatever,
Yeah, we just talk about whatever.
I still haven't figured that thing out. We aren't going to...
I'll have to come over and help you figure it out one of these days. It's a little bit of a learning curve. But.
Yeah. I'm so analog with pretty much everything. I'm just like, I can either learn something new or I can cut this out of cardboard and have a plate shock tab in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's why it took me as long as it did to get a plasma cutter, because I was like, it's going to be like, I don't have the time to learn it, but now that I've learned it, it saves a ton of time.
Yeah, I mean, stepped your game up more than anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially it seems like when you want a bunch of the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Then it just saves so much time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like shock tabs, for example. If you need one of them, easy. If you need 16 of them,
exactly.
It takes a while.
Gosh, I need to, every time I come up here, I'm like, I got to step up my game. Got to step it up. I have opportunities there. I just have to take them. They're like that plasma table sitting in front of my workbench all the time. And it's like, if I just learned this thing, it would make me step up my game, which that's cool. We're always learning. That's how you keep moving forward in this industry.
Yeah. I mean, in any industry, really.
Yeah, exactly. Once you think you know it all, you're done.
And it could catch up to you quick too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can become old news really quick.
Yeah. And I think it gets progressively, it's exponential too. It's like maybe 100 years ago, if you were an expert in your craft as a young person, when you're ready to retire, maybe the craft hasn't changed that much.
Yeah.
But now with technology and the shared information, it's just leveling up,
changes dramatically.
Even just the software we use for the drones or editing, it's every 3 months I need to relearn some of this stuff because it's just always something new, and it ends up being better almost every time. Yeah. And it's just got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Yep. That's true. Especially if you're trying to be self-made. It's not like you're, it's one thing if you were working for the county and you were trying to keep up with your projects or whatever. It's they would probably help pay you to go to school or learn something new.
They'd be like, here's a seminar to learn this new technology. Yeah.
And now it's you're self-made. It's up to you to learn that technology and it's out of your pocket or it's out of your time or whatever. But in the long run, it seems like it's working out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So far.
Pretty good.
Yep. Having a lot of fun, getting a lot of cool projects done. What are you working on?
I just kind of been collecting vehicles and parts, and that's sort of where it's ended. I finally I hit this number of vehicles recently where I have 10 vehicles, and I'm like, that's 3 too many. I cannot get any more things. It's time to finish some of these unfinished projects and maybe sell off a couple things to thin the herd, because I'm getting to that point where I'm a little getting anxious or having a hard time sleeping. I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I got to jump on the computer and order fuel pump for that or this or that. And so currently I just drug my Jeep into the shop, which I dunked into a pond in Moab a year and a half ago or a year and a couple months ago. Dunked it into a pond, sucked water in, bent rods, and ruined my Jeep. And it got pushed outside of my shop. And finally I was a spot opened up. So it was cram it in there, yank the drivetrain out of it. So it's in my way. So I have to work on it. So
sometimes you have to do that, put it in your way so that you can't ignore it anymore.
And so currently I've got that going. It's kind of a cool story. The Jeep that I have is just a crummy old YJ. And built it on dirt every day, taking basically the ugliest Jeep I could find and like turning it into something that was trail worthy. And like, it was absolute garbage. Like homemade bumpers that were just the worst design you ever saw, like square off-road lights all over it, like from the 90s. It had these huge like plastic bulbous, like you've seen the Jeep Renegade probably, that was like a really bad design flaw that Jeep did. Mm-hmm. These were aftermarket, like Temu versions of those. Like they're so bad.
Oh no.
It was so bad. So I took this ugly, super ugly Jeep and we built it on dirt every day and made it into this red, capable, like sort of low budget rig. And then it was the Jeep might be cursed. It's like it was the last vehicle we ever built on dirt every day. And
oh no.
Every time I take it out, I absolutely destroy it. I took it to my buddy Fred's 50th birthday party bash and like destroyed the rear axle, ripped the it's hard to even explain. It's four-linked, like triangulated four-linked, and it just twisted the whole axle and like pushed the center chunk forward like 3 inches, broke axle shaft.
How did you even manage that?
It's just geometry, man, and tequila.
Well, that helps.
Yeah, I destroyed it that time, and then I came back and I fixed it, put a new rear end in it, took it to King of the Hammers, I drove the thing all the way down there back up to here. So I did this huge loop with 6,000 miles of driving or something, and then came back. Then I got to go on a roadkill shoot, and I met Freiberger and Mike Cotton were on that one. And we went out to Moab, and I was showing Freiberger around because he was trying to do like an off-road version of roadkill. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I drove my Jeep right into a pond and like water in, ruined it.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's been every time I drive it, I break it. And now it's like, it's back in the shop so I can put a V8 in it and make a whole bunch of horsepower so I can break it even worse next time.
Yeah, you'll have way more broken parts next time.
Yeah. How does that work when because at that point, Dirt Every Day is owned by a network, not you necessarily, right? But it's your car.
Oh yeah.
So if it breaks, are you just on the line to fix it, or does the network help you out? Or
no?
Well, not now that Dirt Every Day doesn't exist anymore. I mean, they're not going to do anything.
No, I mean, like when you were on like
roadkill,
when it was going, like is it just like you sign a thing saying I'm here at my own risk and because we've never done anything with our own machines on a network before, so I just don't know how that works.
And some of the machines were just owned, like most of the things you built were just owned by the show. No,
it was.
I guess I don't know the mechanics of how that worked.
Yeah, so the way that stuff would work was like the first 6 months of the season or the first 6 episodes, the network would be like, you guys are getting too many freebies. We want to own all the cars. And we would be like, okay, you can own all the cars. So then we would like do the first half of the season and the network would own the vehicles and they would have to source the parts and then they'd have to figure out where to store the stuff after it was done. So then the second half of the season, they'd be like, that was way too much work. You guys can go ahead and own some of the vehicles. So every year it went like that.
So it was just a total mixture of
it was a total mixture.
Okay.
It was like they would see us getting some handouts and some freebies. And then they'd get they would want a piece of that pie until they realized they have to own a vehicle and register it and insure it and store it.
And also it's a vehicle that was built for TV. It's not worth anything to sell because it doesn't.
And typically, if if you're going to make good TV, you usually drive them pretty hard, right?
Yeah, right. So they're going to be broken and
So no, that's how it would go. So it was always a mix. It'd be like if there was 12 episodes a season, like 6 of them would be company owned. I would probably buy 2 a year and Fred would end up buying like 4 a year or something, or we would like revive an old vehicle or something like that. So I was pretty good about not overdoing it. And cause I've never had the space or I have a wife that tells me I have too many cars, stuff like that. So the Jeep was kind of one of a few that I ever did for myself on the show. But nice. I'm not a Jeep guy, and it's like that sort of it's a curse. I think I might be the reason the show is no longer out there, or it might be Butter Jeep's fault.
This video is sponsored by Onyx Off-Road. We use Onyx Off-Road to find all of the trails that you see in our videos, and there are definitely trails on it near you. Now, Onyx Off-Road has 2 new features I want to tell you guys about that are just awesome. My favorite, recency imagery. With recency imagery, you can see where the snow lines are. If something looks muddy or dry, it's the most recent image of the place that you want to wheel, and it could save you a lot of heartache. Next up is Elite Pro Deals. Onyx Off-Road has partnered with a bunch of companies to get you great deals on off-road equipment for their Elite members. So check it out using our link in the description in the show notes, and you'll get a 7-day free trial. You got to try out these new features, and also if you use our link, you will see all of the trails that we go to in our videos in a shared folder. Check it out, and let's get back to the podcast.
Is there a chance it becomes a thing again, or is it just all the way done?
No, it's all the way done. It's sad that it is, but the whole Motor Trend thing is sort of like, it's when Dirt Every Day got canceled, which was going on, I think it was almost 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. My Facebook memories haven't shown like the Butter Jeep yet for being 2 years ago yet, so I don't really know what dates are. But yeah, it got canceled like 2 years ago, and I don't think that it's going to come back. I don't know that there's really new Motor Trend content even coming out. There's been a whole lot of like changes going on there.
Yeah, it seems like they've been kind of falling apart. Yeah, I mean, not that I follow it closely, but just from what you've said and other people.
I mean, I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about it or not, but it's like it's 100% owned by Discovery now, and Discovery runs a really tight ship, really lean, not a lot of people, and they like outsource pretty much everything as far as content goes.
Gotcha.
So the whole Motor Trend, like having a whole lot of shows and a lot of employees and like in-house production, just sort of all kind of like fizzled out recently, and they're about to do a big I think they're going to kind of reevaluate what shows they're going to do and what capacity and how much Discovery even wants like car content on their channels, you know?
Huh. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a whole lot went down over the last like 2 months, basically.
Wow.
And it's not just that, it's kind of like the entire like content industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. Like even online streamers like Netflix and stuff are really hurting. It's like, what do they call it? Streaming fatigue or subscription fatigue? Like,
oh, really?
Like, cause think every time you want to watch a movie, you got to watch it on like, do I need Hulu? Do I need Netflix? Like all these things.
Yeah.
And then like people are just kind of getting tired of that. And then TikTok and Instagram Reels are taking a lot of people's entertainment time. So Hollywood's kind of losing their monopoly on these like longer form contents and stuff. And it was like always gonna happen, but just certain things that have happened recently have like really, I think, accelerated that process, the writer strike, like all these things. And it's this bigger thing that's happening on how people are using their attention, you know? And
well, we're inundated with it.
Right.
Like back when it's
unlimited.
It is. It's
beyond that.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, we would just ride BMX bikes all day long. And then if you wanted to do something as a kid, you'd watch Saturday morning cartoons because that was when the cartoons were on. Mm-hmm. Now it's like you throw a kid in front of a computer or an iPad or whatever, and it's like nonstop. Like you can get your dopamine 24 hours a day. Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy to figure out how to navigate all this period right now.
Right. Even as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like you were saying about the subscription fatigue or whatever, like Motor Trend was, they made their own platform. So you had to have a whole subscription just for Motor Trend for a while. Like,
and now they closed the Motor Trend app down, and if you basically they closed the Motor Trend app down now, and you can get your free Discovery Plus app if you're still paying the Motor Trend money. So they just basically moved it to where Motor Trend is a thumbnail on the Discovery Plus app, and I think it's on HBO Max as well.
That makes a lot more sense than it being on its own.
So all the content you made is still out there for people to find.
It's I don't know.
Well, because it was originally on YouTube.
Yeah,
and some of it's still there, and then it got moved to Motor Trend's app. It's like it's kind of convoluted, isn't it?
Well, and so like probably should do a little backstory because 2 years ago I lost that gig, so it's like there's probably a lot of people who don't even know what Dirt Every Day was or what I was doing.
I bet almost everybody listening to this knows
really
what Dirt Every Day was. But yeah, we should. No, absolutely, yeah.
Because I still want to hear the whole story.
Yeah. So So I guess the way that it worked was early on, like the magazine guys were, they were being pushed. They were seeing the presence that YouTube had, right? And there were like, people had started doing e-magazines and online magazines, and they were doing like vlog style magazines. So the guys at Motor Trend and those brands, like first and foremost would have been like David Freiberger at Hot Rod. He came up with the Roadkill thing, right? So he created this show called Roadkill basically as an outlet for him to do what he really wanted to do, which was like digging up old cars and taking them on road trips and doing resurrections and all that. And that got put out on Motor Trend's YouTube channel, and it absolutely blew up their YouTube channel. Like Roadkill was a huge hit, and that was
because at the time, like nobody else was. There wasn't really any channels doing quality automotive content on YouTube at all. Like, I mean, Mighty Car Mods might have existed then. I don't know, but that was.
But I think it
barely.
I think
early
Roadkill
on.
might have been before Mighty Car Mods.
Yeah, it might have.
It was right
very
around
early.
that same area or same time. I think right around 2009 or 10.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty cutting edge, and the story was good, and so they were really like seeing that people wanted that reality type or like obtainable type of content. Nobody wanted to see like show cars being built. Everybody was tired of watching like the Chip Foose shows and stuff like that. It was like, that's not what most people are doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So my buddy Fred was the editor of Four Wheel and Off-Road magazine at the time, and he and I had become friends for few years at that point. I used to have a shop, and I was doing like tech articles and stuff for the magazines and just kind of all around in the scene before the TV part of it, So Roadkill was hit, and Fred was like, hey, you guys should do a dirt version of Roadkill. And they were like, that's cool. Here's Corey. He's a camera guy. Go ahead and do it. So Dirt Every Day started with Fred and Corey, the camera guy, and they were doing like little 7-minute videos about once a month, and it sort of like took off. And as it grew bigger, they were like, Fred,
and this was on YouTube?
These were all on YouTube, yeah.
On the Motor Trend channel, right?
Channel, yeah.
Okay.
So they had done like Roadkill and Dirt Every Day were the two first ones, and then I think they branched out to like Roadkill Garage and then Hot Rod Garage. So Fred got this thrown in his lap that he was now a YouTube guy, not just a magazine editor, and so he was cranking away on it, and the channel was getting bigger and more popular. And then they were like, you need a host because your videos by yourself are kind of boring. So he called me and he's like, hey, do you want to like jump in on this real quick before they pick somebody else for me? And that was kind of when I came in, and yeah, it was fun. It was like my first time on there was I bought a Baja Bug, and he bought a Baja Bug. We kind of created this fake car club called the Dirt Heads, and got matching jackets made, had them airbrushed. Like, it was pretty legit. Yeah, no, that was kind of how it started. And then after that, they were like, this guy's all right. Maybe we can bring him on more often. And then within a few more episodes, it was kind of a full-time gig. So
that's cool.
It was good. I was on there from, I don't know, it was about 7 years or so. which is kind of a long time for, I mean,
yeah,
for TV
really
life.
time.
I mean, we had like 130 something episodes, which I think is more than the Dukes of Hazzard had.
Nice.
That's more than a massive majority of shows.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, in 7 years, that's a year longer than we've been doing YouTube. So
yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was amazing. It's just crazy, like how, over time, that thing that's like so fun and new, it does become work at some point. Like you're putting in effort, and it's like you're dealing with a lot of people. You're meetings, and you got post-production meetings, and there's a lot to it that people don't see. But all in all, it's like those are the glory years. That was so much fun. Mm-hmm. And then I think what happened is like,
what was so much fun about it?
Oh my God, like traveling all over the country, getting to build things in the wrong locations, getting to drive vehicles that like shouldn't have any business being driven down the road.
Like a couple of Humvees.
Yeah, exactly. We did a couple of Humvees.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, it was just cool. It's the fact that we got to like have these ridiculous sort of childish ideas, but then be able to follow through with them and show it off in good form was so much fun. And that's something where it's like having the backing from Motor Trend was like a blessing for all that, where it's hard to duplicate in the YouTube world because there's just not the budget and the time. And like, part of it is there's not like the set schedule. Like part of the reason you get stuff done, well, in my case, the reason anything gets done is because there's some ridiculous deadline to meet. Like if it was just building something for the sake of building it, they'd never get finished.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think the budget part of it too, like having the network put you on, and these types of like buying things and traveling with them videos.
Yeah,
I think cost a lot more money than most people think, because it cost a lot more money than I thought before we did.
Oh yeah,
the Humvee trip. I was like, oh yeah, like the Humvees are pretty cheap. Like, we're not balling out of control. It's not that expensive. Like by the end of that trip, I was like, this is by far leaps and bounds in a way the most expensive bit of content we've ever done.
Yeah. And luckily it turned into 3 videos, so it got spread out, and then it's not so bad. But like
you start adding it up and you see like where a producer would come in huge handy to be like, all right, this is how much this is going to cost. Like you can't really do it on your own on YouTube. Like even like we have a lot of attention, and we have a really good platform right now, but we couldn't afford to do that all the time.
Oh, right.
There's no way.
It's amazing the amount. Like our show was pretty low budget in the grand scheme of like Hollywood and TV, and it was like it was more to do one episode of Dirt every day than it's going to cost me to do a year of YouTube.
Right.
So it's like, it's just crazy. That's why this YouTube platform is so cool for all of us that are getting into it. But it's like it's just apples and oranges, really. It's hard to compare one to the other. But again, it was like we got to do the coolest things possible. Yeah. So,
and when you were doing that, was that you and Fred just coming up with whatever you wanted to do, or was a story guy saying, "What if you do this?"
No, we had total control of the creative, I guess.
Cool. That's rare too.
So
that's super cool.
There was never a shortage of like things to do. Like, and Fred and I were on it. Like we would be planning the year ahead, and he and I'd be shooting text messages back and forth and like having notes in our phones. And we would have like, by the time one season was over, we would have usually about 24 ideas for the next season. And then we would hammer that down to like 15 of our favorites and ones that we felt like were obtainable, so that when we went into those meetings with the producer and director and the higher ups, like we gave them like 13 to choose 12 out of,
right?
Rather than going in there and being like, hey, we don't know what we're going to do. And then they would choose for us. So
that's definitely better. Like, I'm sure that's a much larger percentage of the reason that show was popular than anyone watching it would ever know. Because when you give producers and directors, like when you let them, write a non-scripted script for things that they know nothing about, it turns out really dumb.
It does. It does.
Really dumb.
And I think that's true. It was part of the reason it lasted as long is because we were super proactive about not letting it become somebody else's baby,
Right. Yeah, because
and not adding in fake drama and or anything like that. Like I know the Rubicon episode you did with the Jeep and the truck.
That was so fun. That was my favorite one.
That was really, really good. Clinton told us to watch that one again when we were saying we wanted to take Groms on the Rubicon.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Have you seen this episode?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Watch it again, but think Grom while you're watching it." And I was watching it and I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty gnarly." But you didn't throw in all this extra drama. Like I'm sure other productions could have like, oh, this is so dangerous, this and that. But you guys were out there, you were having fun, you were showing how capable these machines were. Like that, it's just so real and it's just so much more fun to watch. And I think that's something that YouTube has really brought out in the industry. It's like,
100%.
People want something more real.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah. That one. And what's kind of cool is like the backstory on that one was even fun before the cameras even turned on. Like that episode was supposed to be an old CJ5, like it was supposed to be a Roxor versus CJ5. And it was right at the time that Roxor was getting sued by Jeep.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, we basically got to the start of the Rubicon and we were in the Georgetown side. And we got there, and Roxor was like, "We can't give you a rig."
And for anyone who doesn't know, Roxor is it's a company called Mahindra, and they're from
India.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they made like this
Jeep knockoff
that had a little Kubota diesel in it, and then Jeep sued them.
Yeah, and
for the backstory on the vehicle, anyway.
Yeah, so it was just it was crazy because we had our whole crew in Georgetown, cameras there.
Dang, last minute.
We got there and they were like, "Sorry, we can't get you a rig." And that's why I bought that Chevy truck like that night in Georgetown. Oh. Like I
think it ended up being better.
Oh, way better. Yeah. No, it was, and that we have done that a few times where it was like, "Oh crap, we have to film tomorrow morning at 7." And it's like everybody in the crew divide and conquer and go follow every marketplace ad you can find for something.
Right.
And whoever finds the one that actually has a title and we can afford and might fire up, like send the money to that person. So that's how we ended up with that Chevy. And it was awesome. We got the Chevy back to the hotel and I was like, dude, we cannot put a camouflage rig on camera. Like, it's so bad looking. So we like legit ran over to Home Depot and bought paint and rollers and roller painted it in the parking lot at the hotel and like made it red and tan. And it was awesome. Like there was nothing that was ever scripted or fake on that show. It was like legit 100%.
Yeah,
so
that's super cool.
The paint part wasn't on the episode, right?
I think it showed up for a split second.
Oh, okay.
Like, because I do recall there was cameramen out in the parking lot, and I say this like we have a big crew. It was like there's like 6 people that would be like when we would be traveling around with like all of Dirt Every Day. It was like 6 of us.
That's awesome because when we were just filming a thing for eBay, it was like 60.
Yeah,
it was atrocious.
Yeah,
and
I was telling
you couldn't get that many miles done.
No, we did a mile and a half of the Rubicon because, maybe it was a half a mile all day.
Yeah,
it was like
terrible.
Yeah,
we did I was telling you earlier about when we drove that Unimog, the SEE to Memphis, and we showed up there, and Street Outlaws was like shooting a drag race episode there, and we roll in Dirt Every Day, all 6 of us, and Street Outlaws has like 111 people.
Really,
it was crazy. There's like star trailers and like just so many people for those shows. It's insane.
Yeah. So Edwin, if you thought that driving the Humvees on the highway was sketchy, he bought, I've showed you a few times on Marketplace, the Unimog that has the backhoe on it. It's got the backhoe on the back and the front. They bought one of those and tried to drive it with the buckets on the highway.
How was that?
It was terrible. We only made it like a couple of miles. We turned around and dropped the buckets off. We bought it from this military surplus like equipment reseller in Columbus, Indiana, and it was terrible. It was like they didn't work worth a crap. Like you could barely dig a hole with this thing. So to think we were supposed to drive it all the way to Tennessee and then help build this like motocross track. And it was like,
that would have been hilarious if it had worked.
It would have, but it was like riding a drunken rhinoceros down the road. It was so bad.
The brakes and the whole thing were just oh wow,
not good.
That's crazy.
So, but yeah, that's stuff that's like I got to do it, but I'm probably not going to do it again because I can't afford to go buy military surplus and drive it halfway across the country.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to do it at least once a year, so maybe you can tag along with us on that.
Yeah, well, I was telling him about the idea to get the Ferrari back from Florida and get an LMTV for the fire truck. So if you want to drive it from Florida to here at an LMTV.
Oh, sounds fun.
not a lot of people would say that sounds like fun. So
yeah, I've always wanted to build one of those. Like, did you ever see that LMTV looking the thing that was in one of the Fast and Furious movies? They used
probably, but I don't know which one.
Was it black and armored? Like on the outside?
No, it was actually an Oshkosh cab on like a custom like chassis with like 4 links and coilovers and stuff.
Huh.
It was.
I don't remember that one. It was
so cool. It's just the super boxy like Oshkosh cab forward where you like sit down in the front.
Oh yeah. A Hemet.
Yeah.
That's what that cab that you're talking about is kind of comes from.
So that was one of those things. Like I've always wanted to build something like that, but I never wanted to build. I'm not super attracted to the like oversized, overweight like military surplus vehicles.
Right.
And we actually built this one thing called Woodchuck the Wood Truck. I don't know if it started out as a 4x4 van that I built this like handmade square tube like cab forward thing that looked kind of like an Oshkosh front end. And we actually like sat on the front bumper, and then like I had like a hydraulic servo, like full hydro steering, and like moved all the controls right out to the front. It was so much fun.
Well, awesome. I mean, we're probably going to have an extra cab from an LMTV if you want to build something with the cab.
That would be rad.
We could do that.
If I could put that on my Jeep and like stop the curse, maybe it'll be worth it.
Yeah. Cab over Jeep.
Yeah.
Tate would be really stoked.
Oh,
he wants everything to be a cab over. We got to get him up here. We got to get him up here and have all of us on the podcast together. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Did you see the AI cab forward reel that he made?
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh my gosh. The one thing AI is good for is cab forward renderings. They're amazing.
Edwin's done some of that with like our 6x6 Ranger, or like various things we've done with the AI. It's pretty good at making really cool looking vehicles.
Yeah.
That if you look closely, like don't work at all.
Yeah.
It's good for mock-ups because when you're talking to brands, depending on who you're talking to, they could have a hard time understanding like your vision. So like we were building the BRZ and we were going to wrap it, and we hadn't had the mock-ups of the wrap done. And they're like, so what's it going to look like? What's the vibe of the car? What's the colors? And so I just put into the AI, like, BRZ, blue, yellow graphics on the side, and it just like nailed it. It was crazy.
With off-road tires and like, it
looked like our car, like a photograph. Like it wasn't exactly our logo.
Yeah.
But it was like I couldn't have done that better if I was like a 3D artist. Like it was perfect. It took 2 seconds. Like I like mocking up ideas and stuff. It's really useful, but I just don't like when it's the whole account is like AI generated.
Right.
And then it's like, kind of taking away from like real people doing real things.
Oh, yeah.
But also like they're just building up these accounts, getting a bunch of followers and then selling them. But then I don't get who's following these accounts, because you read the post, it's like a picture of a crashed Tesla and it's like this V8 engine like caught fire on the I-4. And it's like, what the
yeah, just completely inaccurate.
Just this utter trash.
Yeah.
It's like we're already getting bombarded with like enough trash made by humans, and now we're getting AI trash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's spam on a whole new level because it's so cheap and so easy. It's like,
yep.
I don't know. It pains me to scroll through Instagram these days. Like,
oh yeah,
this is the same song
so much
over
AI.
and over again. Like, I don't know. That's why we try to keep our Instagram like. We could hop on every trend, and probably get more views or whatever if that was our goal.
I just embrace being my own dorky self, but having a little bit of a platform and forcing it onto people now.
That's what people want anyway. That's what they're gonna stick around for is the genuine personality stuff.
Yeah, I think that there'll be a curve. I think it'll be like this big trend of all these really aggressive, fast title things to try to get people's attention. And then they're going to realize that kind of attention doesn't mean anything.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, that's, it's hard, especially right now with like it's not even new, but like the whole clickbait trend on YouTube and like how to get people there. And it's like the clickbait just frustrates me more than anything. And some of these like overcomplicated thumbnails, just like with like pop, bang, boom, and like,
right.
It just seems ridiculous. And they sort of push that, right? Because they want you to like have the most exciting thumbnail in this grid of other thumbnails. But it's like, yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather just kind of keep it simple and not try to draw people in because it looks like a Happy Meal or something.
Or you're about to die or something.
Yeah.
Like the big drama is always hard. Like, we wouldn't believe what happened. And then you watch the video and you're like, wait, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what. I was looking at some channel a while ago and I was scrolling through their thumbnails and just like every single one was like, we almost died. I'm like, really? Every time?
Like, every Friday
stranded,
at 2.
Stranded in a snowstorm. It's like, really?
That's what big news companies have been doing forever.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
They're always like, there'll be like a little earthquake somewhere where there's not normally earthquakes. And they're like, there's an earthquake. It hasn't happened. Like they think of the headlines thing.
Yeah.
And it's weird if it's like, okay, if it's on a newspaper, you see the headline and then you read it and you're like, oh, okay, there was an earthquake somewhere where it's never happened before. But now it's like that mentality to the next level.
Oh,
like, we almost died. Like,
we got a quarter-inch of rain overnight.
Yeah, all caps lock, abandoned, ... And it's like a child in a box. And it's like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Like, of course, people are clicking on it. They're concerned.
Yeah.
But are they getting a good experience? Like,
no, because now instead of like skimming through an article and being like, oh, cool, something happened, you have to watch a 40-minute YouTube video to get to the end and find out that nothing actually happened.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I don't even, like, it's been years since I've even watched much YouTube because, like, I know a lot of people love the longer format videos, and we've been doing that, and it works. But, like, I never, if I want to sit down and watch 40 minutes to an hour of content, I'm going to watch a movie or a TV show, like, that's very, like, that's
together.
that isn't real. Like, I'm going to watch something about aliens or whatever, right?
I don't want to recreate me adjusting that carburetor.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I never feel like I have time to sit down and watch a 40-minute video or want to take the time.
Well, so this is probably bad, but like I've never really been a TV watcher. I've never like really been a YouTube watcher. I've never tried to, it's never appealed to me. So it's kind of hard for me to like understand if like what I'm even making is what people want to see. But at the same time, I'm like, if anybody watches it and I'm creating this base, like maybe it's good. I don't know. But yeah, it's funny because you meet some of the people that do the coolest things and they're the most removed from the norm. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, you have tree forts in North Idaho. Like you're pretty far removed.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just, it is crazy because it's like you're trying to make something that everybody likes, but you a lot of times are not the same people that you're
making the content
for, the video for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just a strange way of going about it, but I feel like it's great. The sort of the more removed and the less you care about who's doing the big flashbang clickbait stuff, and you're not trying to chase their trend, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
For sure.
Yeah, I think so. I really do. And
well, I mean, you'll certainly enjoy it more, and you know,
maybe not burn out because you're not chasing something that's not obtainable.
Right.
Yeah. There's this popular clip with Mr. Beast where his new editor now is talking with him, and he says something along the lines of, when I watched an older Mr. Beast video, I was like entertained and I was like into it, but the second it stopped, I couldn't tell you what happened. It's like, it's so flashy, it's so this, it's so that. You can watch the whole thing, and at the very end of it, you don't know what happened.
I have no idea what happened.
And so now he's trying to introduce more characters and tell like a storyline. And like, if someone ends up winning the challenge, he tries to introduce a scene in the beginning of the video where like you get to know this person and why this amount of money means a lot to them to win.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a trend on YouTube. And I think with the current era of content is so easy to copy people.
Yeah.
That like, it's kind of top down. It's like, okay, these big channels started to slow down and get more real. And then I think we'll just see that like lo-fi thumbnails is a new word that I've never heard people talk about before.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, because that's what, like, for the first, I don't know, probably 3.5 years of us doing this, we never had text in a single thumbnail. And like probably the first 2 years, we never shot a thumbnail. We just pulled it from the video. We just like found the most exciting like freeze frame from the video and posted that as the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which back then, I mean, not that that was that long ago, but like even before that, like early on, thumbnails didn't really matter as much on YouTube. Now it's like a lot more of how people choose what they watch. But
yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. I've tried to keep my thumbnails are all like pretty basic. Try to have the subject matter in it, and that's about it, and just say what it is.
Right.
Not trying to like say I'm falling off a waterfall in my F-250 or something if I'm actually just like hosing it off with a pressure washer, you know?
Well, I think people appreciate the authenticity, and I think that's definitely the long run way to do it for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing, like, I don't know if you guys, if you're trying to do a storyline for every video or if you're shooting more vlog style, but I feel like my stuff just kind of naturally goes more vlog style. I would like to do like a little bit of build and a little bit of action in every video. And I've been pretty good about that, but it is just like, it's following along with what's in the shop. So it's hard to have really big storylines at all, but it feels like the vlog style, as long as it's entertaining and interesting content, people are digging it.
Right. Yeah. Ours is always kind of a mix of that, I think, because like most of our videos, we usually have a pretty good idea of where it's going to start and end before we start doing it. It's like, like for example, the chopper over there, like most, I mean, there's been some times where it's changed as we go, but like most episodes on that, I was like, all right, here's the work that I think I can get done building it in a week or two. And like, that would be a complete part, you know, like I can finish the chassis by this day, and then we can say, you know, so it's, but then everything that happens in between is just whatever happens.
Yeah.
But there's still an overall story.
Right.
Like it's either Walt Disney or Pixar. They say the worst form of storytelling is this happened, then this happened, then this happened.
Yeah.
And so with the Monster Chopper, for example, it has a great story because we got these wheels and tires for a project that we were going to do and we're all excited about. And it was going to be with this other YouTube channel to like copy a celebrity's car. And then that celebrity got super canceled out of the limelight. And they're like, all right, we're not doing that anymore. We already had it started and got all the stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like saving that project, putting the stuff into this project.
Yeah.
Like we told that story throughout every episode. And we gave like more bits of information throughout each episode.
Yeah.
Well,
so there's like this overarching story whilst you also have the this happened, then this happened of Ethan slowly building it.
Well, and also the story of the chopper is a mystery in that like until it recently, no one knew if it was going to work.
Yeah,
so like,
exactly.
and every part of it, no one knew if it was going to work. So it's like, is this possible? You know, I think that's a huge part of why the series did so well. I mean, obviously aside from it looking so ridiculous, but a lot of things I've built have been like, some people didn't think it was going to work, but nothing's come even close to that. I mean, I didn't even know if it was going to work as I was building it. So like it's definitely got that suspense built in of like, this, no one's ever done this before. Is it going to work at all?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
But even if the story is like, I don't know, kind of obvious, like, will it work? I still think because I do watch YouTube all the time and love YouTube. And I think it's nice if the video at least shows the story of that part of it. Like,
right.
Like, I don't know if this is going to work, and you leave that in. You know, I think that is something that's unique to YouTube.
Yeah.
That is, like, you get to see the trials and tribulations. Like, everyone saw this with the hydraulic rams roll down the hill and go straight into the fence. And Ethan's like, I can't turn. You know, so it's and that is, and then after that, we included that clip in the future episodes when he was doing the new steering. Like, this is what I'm doing for the steering because it won't steer. You know, so it's like
it's cool though, because it's like, I mean, we're doing cool enough stuff that people want to see it. Like, as long as you're telling the story pretty decent, people will keep watching it. It's hard to tell if you're going to do something that'll grow you to the next level or not. Like, I am going like head over heels overboard into biking again right now, and I'm like, am I abusing my YouTube privilege by putting bike videos on there, even though people signed up because they want to see fabrication and car and truck videos? Or are people signed up because they like the vlog and just the day in the life of type of stuff?
Right.
I think they're interested in you as a character and growing as a person and your personality, you know?
Yeah, I hope so. Like, I hope that I don't just like,
I just go for it.
I've just finished editing a video where, you know, and basically explaining like, look, I grew up riding BMX. I grew up racing mountain bikes a little bit back in the day. I took 20 something years off, and now I'm 45 and I want to get back on my bike again. And this is what I bought, and this is why I bought it. And let's go see if it works or not.
See, that's a good story.
And I hope that people will watch it. I don't know if it's going to like draw more people in, or some people are going to run away, but
I mean, you won't know till you try.
Yeah, exactly.
And in our world, I think the best example of that is Cletus McFarland. He gets the same amount of views if he's flying an RC airplane, building a racetrack, beating a world record at drag racing.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. And I think too, kind of starting off your content like that, like introducing as much diversity in the beginning as possible, is setting people's expectations for a variety show.
Yeah,
you know,
and I did that, you know, right off the bat with like my YouTube channel. I didn't plan to start it. It was sort of out of necessity because Dirt Every Day got canceled and I needed an outlet to like keep doing what I was doing.
Did you have enough kind of heads up notice to where you could have started, or was it kind of just out of nowhere?
No, it was absolutely terrible. I actually had in my contract with Motor Trend, it said like you can't have a YouTube channel. I was like one of the only hosts at Motor Trend that like it strictly said you can't have a YouTube channel. So we got the news that we were getting laid off, and I was like, I need to have a YouTube channel started and like ready to go before the public knows that Dirt Every Day is canceled, because I wanted somewhere to be like, Dirt Every Day is canceled, but you can catch up here and see what I'm doing. And it was they were nice enough to let me out of that clause in my contract about a week before the like thing dropped saying that we were canceled, you know? So I like went through my phone and I was like, oh, my buddy Mark and I like filmed something the other night when we were like drinking beers, and I was fixing fiberglass on my fender on my truck. And I had actually like put together enough clips to make a YouTube video out of it. So it was like, that was my first video, was me out there like fixing fiberglass and scratching Bondo and priming and then going four-wheeling the next day with my buddy Mark. And it was like on my iPhone, shot terrible. The audio's absurd. Like it's so bad, but it was like, that was what I had to have. And then my buddy Cameron, who's actually a good videographer, editor guy, he put together this sort of backstory, like of the backstory of Dirthead Dave or whatever. I forget what the title of it is, but he put that together, and that was sort of my first like professional video on there. But yeah, I had to hit the ground running, and I had no clue what I was doing. I was like, oh God, I need to pay my mortgage. How do I get this going?
Yeah. So you weren't ever involved in the like actual video creation side of it? It was more like you were just building, driving a character on the show, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I am so not tech savvy. I mean, it's bad how bad I am at technology. So you're talking about learning new programs for flying drones and editing software, and I'm still just like, oh my gosh, how do I plug this thing in? So yeah, I'm doing all my editing. I finally like gave up the iPhone, and I'm like shooting on a GoPro and editing on a Mac, like just using iMovie, and it's working, but it's not great. I still haven't even like hardly dabbled in adding music and all that kind of stuff, but whatevs.
Yeah, if you're the good part about music, one of the good parts is it can kind of cover up bad audio. Like if it's really windy or something in the background. Yeah. But I've seen a lot of YouTube videos without music, but with like decent audio that are totally fine.
I mean, Fab Rats doesn't really ever put music in their videos, do they? Or very rarely.
Yeah, they have been more and more.
Right. But I mean, like for a long time, they built a whole channel without hardly any music.
Yeah. They're killing it.
Yeah. And they're doing great.
Paul and Michelle are doing great.
Yeah. And that's some really cool stuff too.
Yeah. And most of their stuff is filmed on a GoPro. I mean, they have better cameras now, but like they still film a ton of stuff on just a GoPro. So, you don't need all the fancy stuff to have a successful channel.
No, that's not what you have. It's how you present it and how you tell a story. That's 100%.
Yep.
So,
well, and if you're somebody who can be in front of a camera and not turn into a brick.
Yeah.
Which obviously you already had that because you had years of,
I was absolutely terrible though. Like years and years ago, like 05, 06, I was working for the shop down in San Diego that was like all inclusive. Like I was running the suspension shop, but we did like paint and body and stereo and window tint and everything. And we were doing a show for, I forget what network. It was we did one season of Street Tuner Challenge where we actually like built a V6 Mustang and supercharged it and like raced these other guys that had one group had a Volkswagen and one group had a Honda Fit. And it was a cool TV show, but like I look back on that and I was like, good God, I was terrible. Like no business being in front of the camera.
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes practice.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But you at least had that practice.
Oh, yeah.
Before starting your own channel, that was my point.
Yeah. And it's fun now. Now it's like, I enjoy it. I can be pretty much who I am, whether the camera's on or not. It doesn't, I mean, I do still get weird, like in certain situations, like where my voice gets weirder than normal. But it's like, I guess maybe being nervous and weird is going to help me be more relatable because it seems like everybody is.
Right.
Everyone's got a bit of it. If you're like on it the whole time, then it's pretty sus.
Yeah.
What was your sketchiest moment in the traveling with big machines home kind of, or not even big machines, but cars in general, like all the road adventures stuff? Like, you getting any hairy situations?
I mean, I crashed a motorhome at LS Fest and laid it on its side.
Oh yeah, I've seen that clip.
Yeah. That was
the Winnebago on like
46
or 42s.
Shoot. Like in the burnout box, and like I finally got the thing to peel out, and I was going way too fast and like had to like crank it before hitting a K-rail and like laid the thing on its side.
Oh shoot.
So the poo water fell out of the vent and everything. It was so bad.
Oh no.
That was fun. That was sketchy. That was like the one time I've actually had to like test out one of my roll cages. Like I hit the ground hard. Like
that's a long way to fall.
Yeah, you're in a motorhome going 30 miles an hour and you're sitting 10 feet in the air and all of a sudden your head's on the sidewalk. It's pretty crazy.
Wow. Did you get a concussion from that?
No, I had a sombrero on.
Sombrero.
Oh no!
I thought you were gonna say you had like a helmet and a harness. Sombrero.
Did you have a harness?
I did have a harness on.
Yeah.
But Fred only had his lap belt on, and he was on the high side when we landed, like because it wouldn't burn out. So Fred jumped out and he pinched off the rear brake line so that I could like 2-foot it, and it would only put pressure to the front tires.
Oh yeah.
And he jumped back in and he put his lap belt on and didn't have his shoulders on. So it was like I went and I crashed this thing and I look up and he's like dangling from his lap belt right on top of me.
Did he have a sombrero too?
I don't think so. I think he left it outside or something.
Oh, okay.
But it was wild. Like the amount of force that the cabinets like left the wall with, it was amazing.
Wow.
There. Like they just
carnage.
Yeah. It was
so
crazy.
It wasn't gutted on the inside at all. It was just a fully.
No, we took the there was like a bed in the back and there was a whole bunch of like saucy like adult books and stuff next to it, and we took all that out to put a fuel cell in, but everything else was still there.
Nice.
So yeah,
what about actually like the road trips like from point to A, point B ones?
They were always sketchy, but the show didn't get good until it was like we were in trouble or we were having to fix something. Like, you know, the director would always be like, we got to get from here to here by this time. And it's like, how about we just let the car tell us when we're going to get there?
Yeah.
And when the thing breaks down and you're having to fix it along the way, that's when the show gets good. So like, it's hard to tell like what times were like difficult, but the more difficult, the better the show was. And like Fred and I would turn it on as soon as something was going haywire. That's when it got good.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. There was a bunch of stuff though. I mean, we were constantly like driving the wrong rig on some extremely long road trip or, you know,
but did you ever like fear for your life?
I mean, there was times traveling like when I was like, this is dumb, we shouldn't be doing this, like when we were actually towing the motorhome on 42s to Vegas on like way too small of a trailer and the thing's like waving in the desert and we're like swerving lane to lane, like that stuff's sketchy. And we're like doing that at like 1 a.m, you know, trying to get to LS Fest. Like that stuff, that some of the behind the scenes stuff is sketchy. There was fun stuff though, like that you can't really replace. Like when we were on the Rubicon and I like burned down that carburetor on the Chevy truck like 3 times. A freaking friend of mine flew a carburetor in on a helicopter. Like
really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And
that's super
and he
cool.
shows up with like another one of my friends that lives like right up here in Old Town. Like, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm on the Rubicon. We just got a carburetor flown in part way. And then my buddy that lives 40 minutes away just drove it to me the rest of the way. I'm like, this is wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Just cool coincidences that would happen. You know, that's like part of the fun and the stories.
Yeah.
As far as almost dying, no good thumbnails there.
I almost died.
We built this Nissan Armada. I don't know if you ever saw that. It was
the Armada, the one that you drilled all holes in it.
So we bought this. I wanted to build like this ultimate, like see if you could build. We failed in the sand dunes over and over. We always tried to do a sand dunes episode, and every time we would do it, it was like we didn't have enough power. We didn't have enough traction. We blew up an engine. Like we failed like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, we wanted to do a Toyota Sequoia because they were V8, and I wanted to like try and ditch 2,000 pounds off of it. We couldn't afford a Sequoia, so I got a Nissan Armada, and and we legit, like, we shaved 1,950 pounds off of this thing. 5.6 liter V8. We put paddle tires on it, front and rear, and we went down to St. Anthony Sand Dunes, and it absolutely ripped. Like, just the most fun rooster tail shooting, awesome, lightweight. We hole sawed it to where the whole vehicle had more holes in it than this table. It was just like, I called it the Swiss cool. Armada because it looked like Swiss cheese, you know? And it was doing really well. And I was like, this dune is bigger than anything we can do out here. I want to try and get up to the top of it. And I was like, it's doing good enough in two-wheel drive. I want to give it a shot in two-wheel drive first before I even try and get up it in four-wheel drive. The thing ripped all the way up to the top of the hill in two-wheel drive. Like, it wasn't a problem at all. Got to the top, wind's blowing over, go over this Razorback and like launch this stock Nissan Armada made out of Swiss cheese and like nosedived it down into the other side. We were in the air like long enough to where I was like, oh crap.
This is going to hurt.
Oh crap. And then just stood on the gas as soon as I saw the sand, and we like lawn darted it, drove it out. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was about the closest we've gotten to actually really crashing something.
Yeah. That could have stung.
Yeah. And it was bad. It was like, we didn't have the camera set up right. The drone was looking the other direction.
Oh no! That's the worst.
Yeah.
So it didn't even make it in the episode?
There was like a GoPro footage of my face.
Oh.
That was about it.
Oh man.
I don't think I watched the whole episode, but I saw some of that project somewhere, and I used to have this it was just my daily driver for a couple of years. I had an Audi Allroad with the 4.2 liter V8. And like, it's got 300 horsepower, but it's such a heavy, European luxury car. It's absolutely boring. And I saw that and I was like, I should do that to this Audi. Just ultimate weight reduction it.
Yeah.
Just take everything. Because I mean, the thing had everything you can imagine from the factory. It had a first aid kit in it with like extra water in a little pouch. It had an air compressor to pump up your spare tire because they couldn't fit a full-size spare tire. Like, it would be it's one of those vehicles that's so overdone. Yeah. It'd be so easy to take out half the weight of it and do that,
I would love to duplicate that episode, like, even on, I mean, what's a Nissan Armada cost? $3,000,
right?
Like, that's YouTube doable.
Oh yeah,
like
for sure.
It would be so much fun to do that again. I just have to figure out how to do it and like either give it away or just not own it after the fact, because I can't keep dragging stuff home. And I don't really have a problem spending a little bit of money to like make a good video.
Right.
It's just the like after the fact having too much stuff is the problem.
I don't know if you've walked around out there.
Yeah, I parked in it.
Yeah, that's 6 years of having too much stuff.
Collections. Yeah. I asked about the danger because I just wondered what bigger productions did. Like, I know yours wasn't huge, but like 6 people, like, in regards to safety, because normally what we've done so far,
we would occasionally get safety glasses and earplugs.
That's it.
Yeah,
there wasn't like a person that was like what needs to be network compliant or anything like that.
No, there was none.
Okay.
We were pretty we were pretty rogue on that show.
Because where, like you said, when things go wrong is when it gets interesting. Yeah, for sure. But then there's like a fine line between like having something very dangerous on public roads, like this.
Right.
This RV lifted contraption on the trailer. Like, if that went down, it might not just be you risking your safety. It's like other people on the road. Yeah. And that's like, we had a moment on our Humvee trip that was like our first accident in public moment when our tow bar broke.
Oh, okay.
And no one was hurt, and it was in a parking lot, and we were very fortunate. But you got to ask yourself, you're like, okay, I'm making YouTube videos, which is definitely not worth injuring another person who's not involved.
Yeah. Right.
You know, like, if we hurt ourselves, we're dumb. Yeah. We're going to get hurt. But it's like, I don't know. I've been thinking about that line a lot recently. So I was wondering if like a bigger production had any kind of anything.
No, we were pretty much, the producer was in charge of making sure really dumb stuff didn't happen.
Okay.
But at the same time, like, we had the producer, like, just about crash their Jeep in Montana following us. Like, it's like there's only so much.
Right. I mean, people make mistakes.
Like, yeah. So, yeah, some of it is, it's everything that we do is just mitigating liability or whatever, you know. Like, I used to run a shop doing custom suspension and airbags and roll cages, and I was constantly worried that I was going to get sued because I built something wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then I lose sleep over that. And then it was like, same thing. You just, if you're going to do what you're going to do, you just have to try to be as smart as you can be about it and hope that it works out. Because if we stop, if we go full safety and we stop doing the cool stuff, then we're done.
Yeah. And we're not having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like,
you
know, it's not fun to get hurt, but it's like, it's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and it's, you know, Ethan and I grew up riding dirt bikes, so we like know that like better than most.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you grew up riding dirt bikes or anything that dangerous, skateboarding, I also did that. It's like, you know, but you know it's worth it. Like if you're sitting in bed, like I broke my leg on my dirt bike, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sitting in bed for a couple months or whatever. I was playing dirt bike video games, you know, like I understood the risks. Like it's not like, you know, it is what it is, but you got to get out there if you're going to have fun.
Yeah, at least you're conscious of it. I think the problem is there's so many people right now that are chasing quick fame that aren't thinking about it.
Like starting fights on the street on purpose for content. Yeah. Live streaming is having a big problem with that right now.
There's so much of that. Like the takeovers and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. People are doing.
Or that guy with the Corvette that was running from the cops and stuff all over Instagram. And like,
and it's like, yes, there are a lot of negative comments about people being like, this is the dumbest thing ever, but it's getting views and it's getting attention,
and they're starting businesses,
and people like that Corvette guy that I just brought up. Will was saying that a bunch of other people copied him and were doing the same thing, but they were a little less smart about it, and they all started getting arrested, like because they saw him do it, and they're like, "Oh, I could do that. I have a Corvette," and then getting arrested. Like,
well, I mean, the perfect example of a success story from something like that is Blake Wilkie.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he did that urban assault video that got him in a lot of trouble early on, and it launched his career.
Right.
Yeah.
And now he's a responsible adult, and he probably wouldn't condone doing it the same way he started. Right.
Right.
But you know, it's crazy because it is a way to get successful, and it's a way to do your thing. But if you're risking other people's lives and livelihood and stuff, it's like you got to figure out if that's worth it or not.
Right.
Yeah. And the answer to that should be, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
But, you know, well, I get why people would be drawn to it. And there is a line, like, you know, because obviously, like, there's, you know, if you go speeding on the highway, it's different than, you know, Blake Wilking a Baja bug through LA,
yeah.
like there's different levels.
Well, and there's some things that, like, if it goes catastrophically wrong in a very unlikely way, it could be really bad, but the odds of that are extremely low.
Yeah.
Versus doing something that's extremely likely to fail catastrophically, like this,
like a street takeover.
Yeah, like a street takeover, like that. Yeah, exactly. Like that. It's that's a line too. It's like, and you never know where that line is. Like, I mean, with the Humvee thing, like, we were towing it with a tow bar that was sold to us as being rated for 17,000 pounds, and it shattered in a parking lot.
Yeah.
So like, towing a Humvee with a tow bar behind another Humvee, we knew that's not the safest thing ever.
The Army does it all the time.
Right. They do it all the time. Exactly. So it's like, they go a little slower maybe, but like, it's one of those, like, you know, it's sketchy, but then suddenly it becomes way more sketchy based on something that you had no real way of knowing, you know? It's like, it's you know,
risk versus reward.
Yep.
It's always going to be
risk reward,
balance, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I in response, yes, even though Dirt Every Day was part of Motor Trend and this bigger thing, we were running pretty loose.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
I didn't have a bunch of things you had to sign off on or like not show certain logos or like it wasn't that corporate. It was kind of more like you continued just basically making YouTube videos just with a better budget and slightly bigger crew.
Yeah.
Wow, that is the dream.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Lined up like that's so cool, and it's awesome. They gave you that creative control. That's the biggest part. That's hard to get.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Because like every shoot that I've ever been on that was anything remotely associated with TV, it's like any logo taped over every single anytime it's anything is, do we have approval for this? Do we have approval for that? It's like absurdly.
In the later years, it got there,
right?
But it wasn't like bad,
right?
I mean, that's why this is Sharpied over. I got a Carhartt logo that's kind of blacked out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like this was a shirt that I had on the show, and I would do stuff like that where it wasn't quite as noticeable.
Right.
Like if I have a hat that's got like a white logo on it, I'd almost always like spray paint black so it wasn't just quite as bright. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, I see.
Just stuff that's like, just stuff like that. It doesn't have to be that big of a deal, but.
Right. Well, I mean, we've even gotten to the point where it's like, it's not like we can't or anything, but we
choose not to.
Generally, like if it's not a brand we're being paid to advertise or it's not our own brand, we'll generally not wear it on the show just because brands are paying for that, right? So if you're giving it away, it's, whatever,
Yeah.
But that's also very loose, and it's like no one's saying we have to do that. It's just kind of like, might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well promote yourself.
Yeah. Or brands that we do work with.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And our brands that give us boots get a really good bang for their buck because the boots last forever and they pay for like one ad. And then we're just like wearing them for like 3 years. I was thinking that because I'm doing this.
I don't know about your boots. 3 years is unheard of. Mine are like 6 months at best. Even good boots. Anyway.
We've been kind of getting a boot sponsor a couple times a year. So it's like, the boots are, if you're a boot brand, Grindhard Plumbing Co. is a really good value.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, I was just piecing together this, it's going to be a huge process, but I want to make a best of like Grindhard moments of all time.
Montage.
I feel like there's like so many people that are like tuning into the show now, especially with the success of like the Monster Chopper and like the Humvee series is doing really well too. And some of the really silly stuff that Will and I've been working on have been doing like crazy good. So like all these things kind of at the same time, I'm like, there's so many people that have no idea like our story, like where we came from, like this other crazy stuff that we've done, and so I'm gonna make this like, I don't know how many hours long it's gonna be, but it's gonna be like a huge montage of complete mayhem, and it'll like, I have all this footage we never used. Like when we started the channel, I was living in Ethan's treehouse, and then I was living in a bus that we were actually building on the channel for a couple episodes before we realized that's not the direction we wanted to go. But like I have all this footage, and it's just so funny because Ethan and I just look like our faces are just like polished little children. And I'm like digging up all my hard drives right now, and I'm like, man, like I just got to do something. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do, but
it's funny when you started talking about this, like I was remembering back to some of that stuff. Yeah. And then thinking about earlier on in this conversation, we were talking about like thumbnails and I almost died. And it like, I've thought about that event many times, but I never thought about it in this light. The very first video we ever posted, like I legitimately very nearly died in the first video we ever posted. And so many, like, back then, the I almost died thumbnails weren't so much of a thing, but like nowadays, like that would 100% have been the thumbnail. 100-foot cliff, I almost died.
And we have it from like 3 different angles too.
Yeah, it's so funny.
See, I want to do a series on my channel where I like review Dirt Every Day episodes and tell like the backstory on it.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Would you be able to do that?
I don't know. I have enough photos that I take on every shoot though that I could do like
without even showing the episode.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I could like do a photo collage. I don't know if it'd be any better than like your aunt and uncle's trip to the Caribbean that you had to watch. Well, no, it seems like it could be a fun, like, you know, just roll through the photos and let it kind of and tell the story as it rolls through them.
Unless at some point you sign something that says otherwise, like you could even watch a mainstream movie on your channel and like commentate it and pause it and be like, wow, this character is really interesting. I like their makeup choice in this scene, you know? And you can monetize that type of content.
Okay.
So as long as you're adding something,
it's the same reason why if you were in a school, you could show a movie at school without paying for the rights. You know, it's the same. What is that called? There's a name for it.
I don't even know. Like, I don't have any of the Dirt Everyday videos. I don't have access to them. And if they aren't getting put back onto like the new Discovery Plus app, like I don't know where they're going to go or where I'd even see them.
You should probably, I bet you there's a Reddit torrent thread that just has all of them you could download.
Really?
Yeah. I know you're not techie, but I could do it for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. If you could put it on a tape for me, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. No, for real though. If you went through those episodes, like that would be so cool.
It would be awesome because there's so much behind the scenes fun and stuff that happened that doesn't make
like
the
this helicopter.
Yeah. It'd be kind of, I mean, you could do that series as kind of like not a podcast, but almost a podcast sort of format.
Yeah.
You know, you could, you know, not just where it's more about, you know, sitting down and talking it. You're watching the video and going like, and if you found somebody to tell the story to, that might even make it better. You know, somebody.
We want to do a short form version of that. It's like all these things that we have ideas for, right? And we just don't have the editing power to do it. But Red Bull Media House is like, they've just been brilliant and on it since day one, and like creating the trends that you've probably seen. Like a lot of it has started from Red Bull, and they do kind of this series just on shorts on their YouTube where they have this stunt that Red Bull does all these big stunts, you know?
Yeah.
So it had this guy's wake skating behind a Formula One car, like a rope tied to the wing of the Formula One car, and he eats it going like 80 miles an hour or something in gator infested Floridaville. And so it kind of shows in the top half of the screen the clip he's talking about, and he's just there like, oh yeah, we thought like you need to go at least 60 to oh no, he's not. He gets started on a wake skate and then he's barefooting. That's barefooting in this gator swamp.
Yeah, of course.
So he's like, yeah, he thinks it's going to be hard for him to get going 60 because that's how fast he needs to go to barefoot, but you also don't want to go much faster. And when the Formula One car is going and he's going away from it, he's going faster than the Formula One car is going.
Oh, really?
So he's going like 80 with what's that principle called? Ethan probably knows. It's like if if you're on an inner tube, you go faster than the boat's going because
I don't know the name of it, but there's
some kind of name for that.
Angular momentum or something.
Pendulum effect.
Yeah. Pendulum. Yeah, there you go.
So he gets on the pendulum going 80, eats it, and has to get out real quick, you know, because who knows what's in that swamp. And I just thought that was such a cool concept because he gets to tell that story, and you see the clip, and it's crazy, and it's a cool viral clip. You know, this guy just topples over behind a Formula One car barefooting in a swamp. That's awesome. But then, like, it's kind of like I was saying about that Mr. Beast stuff earlier. Like, you see it, and then you forget about it, and then you scroll to the next one. But I saw him tell the story and why he got going too fast and why he fell, and I remember that to this day.
Well, and it takes a 5-second clip and turns it into a minute of content. You know, but I saw one of those Red Bull ones. It was some team doing the Dakar, and they were commenting about some crash that happened, and it was that, you know, they were like, oh yeah, and this happened. It was that same format.
It's such a cool format because I don't know about you, but for me, like growing up watching movies and stuff, the behind the scenes I liked even more than the movies.
Yeah,
like how they made the Lord of the Rings was just as cool as the Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
So it's like,
watching that.
I feel like this concept would be really cool for you. Like sit down and
director's cut.
And get the fans of, you know, the show engaged with what you're doing now.
Yeah,
as
it
well.
could be fun, and it could be dragging up the past a little bit, but it could also be showing it to a whole new group of people that didn't see it before,
right?
And especially don't have the ability to see it now.
If anything, it'd be good for the current rights holders because you'd be bringing attention to it.
And then people would go back and try to find it.
I'm going to watch that episode. I'm going to subscribe to Discovery or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'd be sick.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. It's hard because it's like this trend on YouTube is that people are putting out like 3 videos a week. And it's like, how do you create that much content?
I mean, we've very rarely done more than 1 video a week as far as YouTube goes. And I don't know, my personal opinion and something we've talked about a lot is that quality over quantity is like, if you can make 2 or 3 videos a week that are really good, it might be worth it. But like, if you're sacrificing quality for quantity, it's probably not worth it.
Yeah.
And we were talking to some of the people at Donut, one of the bigger automotive channels out there, and like they had been posting like, what was it, like 6 videos a week or something for a while? I don't know, a lot. And then like they that had gotten them a lot of growth, but then at some point, I don't know, they're a huge, corporation compared to. Anyway, they stepped it back to, I don't know, 2 videos a week or whatever it was, and the views went way up because, like, well, who knows because, but one of the potential reasons is, those videos, when you're posting that many, they don't have time for all of your subscribers to watch it before the next one comes out. Because not everybody...
longer life.
Right. Not everybody watches your video on day 1. Mm-hmm. And, like, we apply that principle to, like, say, the Chopper series. We're releasing, I mean, partly because it was taking a lot more than 1 week's worth of time to build it, but we'd put out a video on it like every 2 or 3 weeks so that like the last episode would get all of its views before you move on to the next one, because especially in like a sequential build style video, like if there's a newer episode out, not a lot of people are going to go watch the older one first. Like if they missed it and they see a newer one, they'll just skip the other one. So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to navigate. There's like no rhyme. Yeah. Like there is rhyme or reason, but it's like figuring out what's going to work for you is.
And there's still the Wild West,
and there's no one answer. Like everybody's doing it differently.
No one's found the best format, the best
except
this,
Mr. Beast.
That.
Apparently,
well, he's found the best, but I still think there's better out there, and I think that he's discovering it, and a lot of other people like Ryan Trahan are discovering it, and it's just constantly evolving thing, which is fun. It's like the ultimate video game.
Yeah. I as soon as I got like on the studio app and all that stuff, I just relate it to like a gambling addiction. Like I just like have to go and look at the studio app, and I have to like compare how this one's doing versus that one's doing, and like I do that, and to me it seems like similar to a gambling thing. It's like, okay, can I make this next one that's going to do better than this one? Or like you try to figure out these trends. And then I talk to other YouTube guys that are even more into it, and they're like, oh, did you scroll into this page and drop down here and go over here, and it'll tell you the spike this and the percentage. I'm like, you are a nerd. Like, would you stop it? So I'm trying to figure out, like, at what point do I need to start studying other YouTubers, and what point do I need to like start figuring out how to work the algorithm better, and at what point do I need to like become a better editor, or do I just like keep doing what I'm doing and hoping for the best? Like,
I think the easiest thing is when you're watching back your video in the edit, if you get
one thing
bored,
I don't ever do.
Oh, you have to do that.
Oh, crap.
That's what I'm going to say. All this other crap and this data and all the nerd stuff you talked about, you do not need to focus on. But like you do your edit, you're in your timeline. Yeah. You watch it back. Where you get bored, cut it out. Where you're interested, do more of that next time you film.
Yeah.
That's what we did for like our first. We still do it.
By the time I'm done editing a 20-minute video, I'm so tired of hearing myself talk. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't watch this anymore.
At least he mostly is hearing me talk. I'm probably tired of that too, but it would be worse if it's yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so. That is, but it is also easier to implement the changes if it's yourself.
Yeah.
True.
Like sometimes I come here and I'm like, we should do like, move the camera more in the first scene, or like, if I am in the video, like we recently turboed an Amazon quad, like I had that whole kind of intro planned out. And so I was talking with Steven, I'm like, all right, what if we do this? And like, we kind of like move the camera in while we're doing the intro. So it like reveals all these parts and stuff, So it's like, that is, from the editing eye, from seeing all the edits, like, and it's not something you'd think about if you were just filming, just entertaining, just doing the sound. Like, it's really from the editing is where you learn what makes a video good or bad is what you learn like while you're editing, even things you've already done.
I know my video that I'm going to put out on my mountain biking stuff is terrible. It's horrible. Like I went out, obviously I'm not very tech savvy. I went out there and rode this whole trail and got no audio. So I had to come home and like do a stand up and like talk through my riding so that I could lay B-roll of bike riding over it. And I'm like, gosh, this is crap, but I'm going to put it out anyways.
You should collaborate with, Burn Peak is the biggest mountain bike YouTube channel, right? Yeah. And he's into off-roading, right? He has a Jeep and he is really into like off-road RC cars and stuff. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Cause
believe me, I was watching, that's why I was late getting here, is because I was watching the Burn Peak video on the Ozark Trail 29er.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice. So I actually don't watch his mountain bike ones. I don't mountain bike, but he does a really good job of storytelling and his videos are really, I really admire his editing.
They're very well put together.
All of the ones where he builds an obstacle, like his big wooden ramps and stuff, and like the whale tail thing. Is that what he called it? Like the kind of like swoop and whoop.
Yeah, the swoop and whoop. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he just does such a good job of the way he films it and edits it. And so I watch all of those, but I was thinking about that when you were talking about like doing off-road and bikes. I'm like, well, this guy's doing off-road and bikes. And
gosh, I would love to, like, that's the thing is like, I feel like the things I'm doing are fun and good enough. I just feel like my follow through on the video side of things is like subpar. But I'm doing it all on my own.
And it would be better and better if you were more passionate about, like, if you were doing the thing that you were most passionate about, then it's easier to get the video out, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it is for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. As soon as you're not passionate about it, then it's really a job, or it's considered work. But yeah, no, it's all good. I'm enjoying the hell out of this whole like YouTube adventure. I don't know that it's something that's going to make me $1 million or like become even a full-time job ever. But it's definitely a way to stay relevant and stay in front of your fans, and the engagement that you get with like comments and stuff is amazing. I know the bigger you get, the more like people get on there and you have to go through some of the crap comments, but it's like right now things are so good. It's like everything's positive. You very rarely get anybody that's like talking negative. So it's really fun.
It's cool.
I'm enjoying it. Super stoked on it. So what are you guys building next? This thing over here?
I mean, I'm just kind of working on that at the moment. Making it a little better. We have a bunch of different things coming up. That's actually why I'm working on that, because we haven't, like, there's a bunch of big things, but we haven't started any of them yet.
Yeah.
We're going to build another jet boat.
Oh, cool.
Slightly larger, just big enough for 2 people.
Another Jetstream brand one?
Yeah, he came up with a just slightly bigger one. He's sending us a prototype that I'm going to try and stuff 2 engines into it.
Oh,
so
cool.
1 engine per person.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. There's that. There's the Ferrari thing I mentioned earlier, the LMTV fire truck, the Humvees. I want to build one of the Humvees.
Yeah, there's never...
so many things,
There's never a shortage of stuff to do.
No. And that's not even counting all the weird stuff we found on Marketplace that would make a good video.
Oh, my God. Yeah. That's
the
other...
Will's going to build.
Yeah, right. This stuff Will's going to build. Yeah, I mean...
There's like a whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I swear we live in like the capital of weird stuff on Marketplace.
Yeah.
Like I've browsed, I mean, aside from Florida.
Yeah, I don't know though. Like we have, I mean, don't tell anybody, but this place has the most square body Chevys and like dent side Fords out of anywhere in the world, I think.
Well, and we don't have like Florida has weird stuff, but it's all rusted.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Ocean.
And I mean, it's not all rusted, but like it's, you know, and it's closer to the East Coast. So it's probably come from northern where there's salt on the roads. And we also have all the seasons of sports here. So like, if you go to Florida, you could find jet skis, but you couldn't find a snowmobile to save your life.
Yeah.
Here we've got all of that. We've got jet skis, snowmobiles, snow bikes, snowcats, tanks, Humvees. We have weird stuff on Marketplace.
It is good, and that's the other addiction. Like one is looking at YouTube stats, and the other is, you know, buying.
I'm severely addicted to Marketplace for sure.
Yep, I get it. I'm right there with you. Someday this thing will be on there, and some YouTuber in 2040 is going to pick it up and revive it.
I'd like to think I'll still have it in 2040. That's not that far out, but
that I don't see you letting that out of your grasp.
No, I mean, I would probably have to be dead for that to be sold.
Yeah, we've pretty much not sold.
We haven't sold anything good.
Anything that's been fully custom, but yeah, we normally end the show with a segment called Wise Words with Will, where he passes down his wisdom to the people. Since we don't have Will today, do you have wise words?
Wise words with Dave Chappelle?
It could be anything.
Let's see. Wise words. I've recently become an old man, so I will give some wise words from an old man.
At what age does that happen? When was recently?
Yeah, I think mine's coming on a little premature.
Oh, no, you're still good. Let's see, because I feel like my wife just said I'm having a midlife crisis, and that's why I'm riding mountain bikes a bunch. So I'm like, well, maybe.
That's a pretty good midlife crisis, yeah.
Maybe it's time to embrace the oldness and not fight it too bad. I mean, not saying that like embrace being old and like slowing down, but like embrace it being old and growing up and learning from your mistakes. And then also try to revive what your cool stuff was that you did when you were a teenager, which I'm trying to ride bikes, and maybe next time you'll see me, I'll have a broken wrist or something. But at the moment, I'm having a really good time.
The hot pink cast we could sign.
Yeah, whatever it takes. So no, that's it. I just kind of feel like follow your passion, whether it is the current trend or not. Like if you feel like, you know, building Lord of the Rings sets is your thing, go and build the Lord of the Rings set.
I like it.
Do it.
Yeah. I really should. It's good. Yeah. That was
Ethan pretty much built Lord of the Rings armor on the monster chopper here.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, Mad Max, you know, close enough.
Yeah. And where can people find you on the internet?
The big push right now is YouTube, obviously, and that's on the Dirthead Shed on YouTube. I've got a bunch of videos there. Next up would be Instagram, and it's Dirthead_Dave. And the next big thing I got going on is actually going to be putting out some merch. You'll be able to like source that through my YouTube, and then the dirtheadshed.com should take you right to the Shopify account, and hopefully that'll be up in like a week or two. So when this thing airs, maybe I'll be able to sell some shirts and work a little less at the day job.
Nice. Well, that's the goal.
Yeah, I like the new era for you. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun.
I think it's fun. It's coming from TV and people seeing that persona, like being Dirthead Dave and doing dirt stuff all the time. Now I'm back to building mini trucks and lowriders and riding mountain bikes and doing the things that I always loved before I got into the off-road industry. And I hope that people think it's cool and follow along. And I really feel like the core group is definitely appreciating it. There's so many other, you know, mid-40s dudes that rode BMX as kids, and now they have a Jeep, and they're all like, oh my gosh, I definitely want to do this again. So
right.
That's it. That's the words of wisdom. I'm probably doing it wrong, but
Close enough.
That was fantastic. Thanks for joining us. That was the Sent and Bent podcast. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.